Kevin J. Johnston, the #1 name. In the land of the North, he's risen to fame. 40 years deep in the law he's read. Now the CRA shakes in fear and dread. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J. Johnston, the fight doesn't end. Corporate debt, he'll make it all good. He's the man the CRA misunderstood. They vanish like mist when Kevin shows up with his legal fist. No more matching, no more lies, just clean-cut books and clear blue skies. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J. Johnston, the rules start to bend. The CRA can scream and shout, but Kevin knows how to throw them out. They claim they've got the final say, but Kevin proves there's a better way. He fights for truth, he fights for you, and teaches what the courts won't do. Forever today. Let Kevin J. Johnston show you the way. The expert, the rebel, the man with a plan. He's saving this nation, one client per hand. He's got 40 years of tax law knowing and corporate skills that keep cash flowing. GST, payroll, all in line. He'll save your neck and every dime. He studied law, both civil crime, and makes tax code sound so sublime. With stand-up jokes and punchlines tight, he makes your seminar a night of light. Kevin J, Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North, Kevin J. 2 million women cast their vote, said Kevin's hot, that's all she wrote. The suits at CRA can't compete, he's beaten them clean without deceit. 100 mil he's saved so far, he's raising truth like a legal star. And if you think you owe the state, he'll show you how to terminate. Kevin J, Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared,
Kevin J. Johnston here. Welcome to the Tax and Money Show, episode number 111. This is part 2 of exposing FINTRAC. Watched, flagged, targeted regular citizens and not criminals. Man, we have to put a stop to FINTRAC and all the other institutions that are just like them, everybody. There is positively nothing worse being told how to run your business by people who have never in their lifetimes ever once run a business. Thanks for being here, everyone. Man, it's just so much fun to come in here and to expose the Canadian government for everything they do wrong, which is everything they do in general. You ever notice the fact, folks, that nothing is done correctly? Nothing is being done to advance the economy. Nothing is being done to advance the country in any particular way. Did you know that Canada was actually trying to compete with the Americans in the big teleportation project? That's right. There's a couple of old mines in the Sudbury area of the province of Ontario with heavy water catching neutrinos, which can actually penetrate even planets. They just go right through because the Americans lay claim. I don't know if it's true. I don't know. Is it true? Who knows? But the Americans laid claim to the fact that they can teleport one electron 5 kilometers, and Canada was competing. No, they gave up on it. Everything's been defunded. Every single thing that makes a country better is completely defunded. Yet so many of you out there are in the vile and precarious position of paying for all of this incompetence. Nothing's being done, but we're still paying through the nose for it. I despise it in every way. And what I do despise very much are institutions like the Canada Revenue Agency and FINTRAC, whom we are talking about tonight, telling all of you how you can and cannot conduct business, telling you what you can and cannot do with your day, telling you what you can and cannot do throughout the course of your fiscal year. It's your company. You do it your way. So tonight, everyone, this is part 2 of me exposing FINTRAC, the Financial Idiocy Nincompoop Center of Canada, where they state that they're trying to save Canadians from money laundering and human trafficking. But the Canadian government is the #1 human trafficker in North America. They really are. And I'll just give you a slight example of what I'm talking about here. In Canada, police used to have discretion. So if someone called the cops and the cops thought the call was a complete waste of time, they would just write it down, complete waste of time, and tell everybody, go home. It's over. They had discretion to not fill the courthouses with nonsense. But because human trafficking is a huge business in Canada, everyone just gets arrested. The cops just arrest everybody. That's all they do. Because first off, we're hiring exceptionally unintelligent people to be police officers. They are horribly and over the top left-wing nuts. They really are. And on top of all that, they have been instructed to fill the courthouses and to fill the prisons. So when you are in a holding cell in Canada, that's human trafficking. It has nothing to do with justice. It has nothing to do with safety. It has nothing to do with the protection of our borders. Nothing at all. Every single human being that goes into a prison, the prison gets money. That's what they get is money. Now, you all know the Canadian government simply didn't like the fact that I was exposing Justin Trudeau's weird sexploits, if you will, and that I was exposing the city of Toronto and the city of Mississauga for being centers of terror funding in Myanmar, Thailand, and Bangladesh. I exposed all of this in my journalism days. So the Canadian government kept throwing me in prison. What did they show me when I was in there? Is that they would just medicate all the inmates. Instead of allowing the inmates to eat good food, which improves mood and improves brain function, instead, they would serve junk food, like literal garbage, and then medicate everybody. So if anybody was in there for drugs, they were actually entitled to a methamphetamine tablet. That's right. They were giving methadone to everybody in jail who wanted one. So, I mean, I would line up saying, yeah, man, I'm high as a kite. Give me methadone. So I could trade the meth pill that they gave me for vegetables and maybe some other food, but it wasn't even real vegetables, just canned crap that they would steam. That's human trafficking. Whether you think so or not, the very fact that what they did the first day that they actually put me in prison for exposing Justin Trudeau is they handcuffed me to 7 other guys. So there's 8 of us with our wrists completely bound together and our feet bound together. And we all get shoved into this steel truck. And they take us from this prison to the courthouse and force us to sit in the cell and then go upstairs and have some some judge, some loser in a black dress scream and yell at all of us. For what reason? Because he's getting paid. The court clerks are getting paid. The crown attorneys are getting paid. The judges are getting paid. The cops are getting paid. The janitors at the courthouse are getting paid. The prison guards are getting paid. And whoever owns the prison is getting paid. Plus, Doug Ford and other politicians in the country, they're getting paid because their families are supplying all the food and garbage toilet paper and whatnot to the prisons. So with you being in prison in Canada, it's completely a business for everybody else. And yes, it is paid for by we, the taxpayer. So FINTRAC wants to tell all of us that they're trying to protect us from human trafficking when it's the police and the courts that are doing all the human trafficking. And of course, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I hate those guys. They are the ones that kidnap anyone who's a burnout drug user or whatnot. They drive them all the way over to Prince Rupert in British Columbia and put them on ships to be sex slaves elsewhere. That's it. A lot of Canadian citizens just disappear. They go around the world, and it's the RCMP doing the kidnapping. Canada is an evil place to be. It's a horrendous country. I absolutely cannot stand the place. And it just absolutely sucks that our tax dollars are going into all of that. So the reason I'm bringing up human trafficking tonight, everybody, is because you're about to hear someone talk about human trafficking. This is the head psychopath. Her name is Sarah Paquet. She's crazy. This woman is an extremist left-winger. She is the head of FINTRAC. FINTRAC is the institution in Canada that tells each and every one of you that you need to comply with them or else they will fine you. They're not cops like the CRA. They're not cops. They can't get warrants. They can't file arrests. They can't do anything. They can't even touch you. But they just like to threaten you and issue fines all of the time. So I want everybody right now to hear what Sarah Paquet has to say. I took a 6-minute video and I cut out all of her ums and her uhs and her uhs. She sounds like a ghost in between each sentence because she's French Canadian, and normally French Canadian women are like really sexy when they speak. This one is not. This one is a different animal altogether. So out of a 6-minute video, when we chopped it down to 3 minutes and 39 seconds, not quite half, but almost half was her going, yeah, like who remembers the Police Academy movies with Bobcat Goldthwait? We're doing that's what she sounds like, guys. So here's her without the ums and the ahs trying to explain logically what FINTRAC is and why we should care. By the way, everybody who's watching on TikTok, I've rigged a new speaker system up tonight. I need you to give me the thumbs up if the volume's good. Give me the thumbs down if the volume is not good. All right, let's get going here because this is important.
I'm Sarah Paquet. I'm the director and CEO of FINTRAC. So FINTRAC is the financial intelligence unit, but also the supervisor for the AML-TF regime. So what that means is we are regulating about 25,000 businesses, including financial institutions, casino, money services businesses, and a lot of others. But those businesses, what they have to do is to report to FINTRAC when they see transaction that can be suspicious or that meet a certain threshold. We send this financial intelligence to law enforcement and disclosure entities for them to support their investigation. And having the real impact is when we are supporting those investigations and saving lives by saving some of those victims on the street that shouldn't be victims. And often people will think about money laundering as white-collar crimes, but it's all about the victims. It's about greed and it's about profit. For human trafficking, then you have a person who you can use and reuse for your crime and generate profit. You make profit out of those crimes, then what do you do with the money? You want to hide it. And then by hiding it through laundering it, this is what's making human trafficking financial. Human trafficking cases to law enforcement, so helping them with their investigation, saving more lives. So not only we're sharing best practices in real time with other countries, our 15 partners, but it's happening all together. And that's really how you can fight financial crime when you all work collaboratively together. With the evolution of technology, we can really leverage it to get more information faster The financial crimes are just becoming more complex. They are layering money in multiple ways. They are over multiple jurisdictions. So when we bring everybody together, law enforcement, financial institutions, technical companies, when we all share the information we have, then we can see the bigger picture. For human trafficking, for example, a single transaction of late fast food transaction or late pharmacy transaction for a young woman doesn't mean anything in itself. But when you bring 40, 60 indicators together and you identify 2 or 3 or 4, you say, oh, maybe I'm on to something. And this is when the reporting occur, and better reporting means better disclosure to law.
It goes on for another minute. I can't listen to her. All right. I just can't listen to her. This individual here who makes phone calls, and her staff make phone calls and send letters on a regular basis to casinos, charity casinos, banks, mortgage brokers, anybody they consider a financial institution. All they do is issue threats. They're not stopping human trafficking. They're not a police force. So how do they stop human trafficking? They cannot make arrests. They cannot get warrants. So how would they stop human trafficking? When they are reporting to the police forces in Canada, some of whom are involved in human trafficking, how are you stopping human trafficking? All right, it doesn't make any sense at all that a woman who looks like she is maybe a vegan or maybe a muddian, someone who eats mud, she's one of those individuals who has no muscle tone and absolutely no experience in the international markets and the international crime syndicate markets. That's what I'm talking about. This individual here probably just goes home at night and has a big glass of wine. She's got 9 cats walking around and watches TV very comfortably on a couch. What would this individual actually know about stopping human trafficking around the world? This person has been educated at an extremist left-wing nuttery college known as University of Ottawa. So with her training in civil law, what would she possibly know to do to stop human trafficking? It's all an excuse. It's all a smokescreen. I'm now going to cover everything about Sarah Paquet. So tonight in this episode, we divulge who this individual is and what her crazy hiring policies are. Let's go to it right now. So she had an ongoing policy discussion here. Now, the big thing with this Sarah Paquet chick is that she's very well protected. The general public does not know or does not have access, to ask her questions. We don't know anything about where she's going to speak until she just shows up at some government event and speaks. The media is not allowed to question her, and everything she says is scripted. So she gave some ongoing policy discussion in 2025, and she's seen in the industry commentary and conferences, and she's got themes that they don't make a lot of sense. What she said in one of her 2025 speeches here was they were going to be expanding the anti-money laundering rules. But that's just the internal policies of FINTRAC. They're not cops, and they're not the law. They're not writing laws here. They're not expanding laws. What she meant is that they're going to expand how many people they give tickets to, and pray to God people pay them. Just like every city in Canada gives out parking tickets. People have been getting parking tickets in their own driveways. Canada is a scam, and that's all she's talking about there. Then she says there's beneficial ownership reporting. No, I'm going to tell you this right now. There is no benefit to any of you reporting anything to FINTRAC. What are you doing? You're screwing your clients over. Right? You heard her say, if the thing is suspicious, we do the reporting, and we go over and watch the Habs game, and I have some poutine, and I get lost in the car because the ramp is broken, and we say things, right? That's all it was. So we have this individual out there trying to convince you that you should be reporting to them. But I'm telling you that if you're reporting anything to them in her efforts to protect you, from who? From you, all you're going to do is screw your clients over. So she's got a big focus on crypto regulation. Let's hope not. So I would advise each and every one of you out there, if you're in crypto, do not do any crypto purchasing or trading through Canadian exchanges. I'm done with all of them. I have pulled out. I've canceled all of my memberships with all of them. I'm out because all the Canadian crypto agencies out there, they all report to FINTRAC voluntarily. They don't have to, but they do. Wow. Then she says she wants to focus on financial crime modernization. What does that mean? What does that mean? Is she going to finally go to the gym, get some muscles, learn how to shoot a gun, and become a cop? Is that what she's talking about? All right. There's no modernization for this. All the Canadian government does is steal your money and give it away to other countries. All right. Next, she wants to close regulatory gaps. She just wants to find more ways to threaten you. That's all that it is. More ways to frighten you into giving FINTRAC money. That's all that this is. Then she says she wants to focus on not stealing from Canadians, but focus on Canadians being stolen from. And that's also not true because FINTRAC's the one doing all the stealing. Just like the Liberal Party. They're the only ones doing the stealing, everybody. So much for that theory. Then, and I added this one myself, she wants to help the Liberals destroy the economy. Because when people, especially Canadian-born people, are terrified to do business because FINTRAC is watching them, they're not going to do business properly. Of course, all these rules kill the economy. Absolutely. So next, she had a conference and public speaking background here. Now, as an example, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Conference of 2021, they mentioned her as a keynote speaker. Now, could you imagine this individual you just heard speaking to a large audience? You know, how many people would be doing this with the watch and looking for reasons to just not be there? What exactly would this person be saying at this kind of a conference? Oh, hello, we're going to find new ways to steal. That's pretty much it. So she shows her ongoing presence with talking about financial crime policy. But FINTRAC operates in civic law and in policy, not in law. Then she talks about anti-fraud leadership circles. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean? The Liberal Party has been defrauding the Canadian people since the first day Justin Trudeau took office. Look what Carney's doing now. What exactly is she talking about? Who are these leaders she's talking about? Now, she has zero notable successes in any of the areas in which she professes to be a master or a professional. None. She's done nothing with her time in FINTRAC. And what she will do is continue discussing at all these conferences DEI hiring policies. She loves to talk about this and enforcing LGBTQ expectations. That came directly from her, by the way. That's a direct quote. She is enforcing LGBTQ expectations. Now, what exactly is an expectation of the LGBTQ? The expectation in general of the left wing is to get their hands on as much free money as possible by, I guess, complaining until they get it. So FINTRAC, who is supposed to be helping Canadians, I guess, not get ripped off by terrorists from around the world, is going to be enforcing the expectations of the radical left. What exactly does FINTRAC do for you and for you and for any of you? Wow. Well, stealing from you is the answer. So who is she? She has been the director and the CEO since the year 2020. She leads Canada's financial intelligence system. Well, you've heard her speak. You now know that it's a financial lack of intelligence system. She's talking about anti-money laundering enforcement, which is done only through tickets and fines. Overseas reporting from banks, to which banks around the world are not obligated to report anything to Canada. And with me living in Panama, I can tell you Panamanian banks don't report to the CRA. They're not obligated to. No country around the world who has a banking system is going to say, hey, you know, those people in Canada who have achieved nothing of consequence since 1988 want us to report to their group called FINTRAC, which operates in civic law. You know what? We're not going to screw our clients over. We're going to make money. Forget Canada. You and I are not obligated to do anything FINTRAC says. What would make any of you think that a bank in Mexico or Russia has to comply with them? If the citizens don't have to comply, the banks don't have to either. So she likes to get overseas reporting from real estate companies, which is not going to happen if you're buying real estate in El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Panama, Colombia. The government's not calling up Canada saying, hey, we've got this white dude down here, middle-aged white dude, 5'6", body fat looks about 24 and a half. He's got a lovely beard on his face. He just bought 2,000 acres of beachfront property. You really think that Colombia and Brazil and God, man, Korea are making phone calls to FINTRAC, snitching on you? Come on. She wants to police casinos, which, okay, I suppose every country should police casinos, but all they do is just issue fines to casinos. They're not actually policing them. They just say, we think you might commit a crime, so here's a ticket. And the casinos have money. So they've got lawyers, and they usually win in court. And of course, money service businesses. Now, I run a money service business in Canada. In fact, I have more than 20 of my corporations dedicated to money servicing in Canada, especially helping Canadians get into crypto, into gold, silver, property, and getting their money the hell out of Canada. I do that. And FINTRAC they know who I am. They have not yet asked me to join FINTRAC and report to them, but I've already written my policy. And the answer is to tell FINTRAC, no, but not very politely. And it's in my policy, the entire profane paragraph that I will utter on the phone to them. That's part of our corporate policy. I will not read it here because TikTok will go poof and just cut me off for probably a year. All right. But use your imagination on just how crass and vulgar a middle-aged guy with a vocabulary of 120,000 words and a chip on his shoulder and who has complete disdain for all things Canadian. Imagine what I would say. Just go ahead, put it in your own head. I will probably publish it at some point, okay, but not here. A French-Canadian woman who studied common law in civil law at the far left University of Ottawa. So she has no criminal law training, this person. She has only worked cushy government jobs. She's never run a business. She knows nothing about entrepreneurialism at all. She's not a banker. She has no formal training in anything to do with the financial markets. She knows nothing about crypto, nothing about stocks and bonds, nothing about the stock market, nothing. And she has, she engages with a lot of these radical feminist groups. So she's really into this woman thing, we hate men thing. That's who and what she is. So good for her, I guess. And she has never worked in the private sector, so she doesn't know how the private sector truly functions. And that's the big problem with people who have government jobs or career politicians. They're out of touch with the people that they are supposed to serve and help. Someone who's never run a business should never be in a position to dictate terms to business. In general, should never. Much like a 500-pound man should not be giving health advice to any of you. It's just how it is. And a guy who's had his driver's license pulled for 14 driving while impaired charges should not be a teacher at a driving school. That's just how things are, people. That's the reality of life. Oh, I know. Oh, Kevin, man, he's a hater. He's racist. He's this and that. I'm just a truth teller. We need more of me out there, don't we? Next. What her articles, and we're talking about Sarah Paquet now. She's the CEO of FINTRAC, the criminal enterprise who threaten Canadians on a daily basis. So what her articles, interviews consistently focus on across all sources, and her messaging is extremely consistent, everybody. One is money laundering is massive in Canada. Billions in illicit funds moving through the system, strong links to organized crime. She says this all the time. Organized crime, organized crime, organized crime. But she never tells us who the organized criminals are, because I'm sure she's been threatened by a few of them. We don't know any of this, and they don't tell us any of this. So as far as I'm concerned, she can talk all she wants, but she's doing nothing. Then she forgets to mention that China and Canada's governments are the ones pulling off all the money laundering and property fraud in Canada. I don't know if anyone heard about this, but the Chinese have bought a copper mine in Nunavut. And the government here didn't say a word about it. It was a very crooked deal. And now the government's going to give China $34 billion to build the infrastructure to get precious metals out of Nunavut. God knows where it's going to go. That's not money laundering. That's not theft. That's not illicit funding of terror activity. Who knows what's going to be done with those precious metals, but I can guarantee you it's not going to benefit the Canadian people in any way. FINTRAC was set up to track that kind of thing, and they are ignoring it. So number two, we got private sector reporting being critical. So banks and real estate and others are the front line. So what that means is they want real estate agents to collect your name, your home address, your children's names, your job, how much money you make, who your boss is, who your clients are. The real estate agents, they actually say, we have to collect all this. We have to do it. It's the government. We have to do what they say. So if a real estate agent asks you all those questions, just say, I'm sorry, that's none of your business. Sell me the goddamn house. That's what it boils down to. And it's amazing how many real estate agents and brokerage houses are willing to walk away from money. I am not willing to walk away from money. You want to do business? Let's do business. I'm not going to look at someone who with a suspicious pair of glasses on saying, hey, this guy here wants to pay me for tax services and he wants to pay me in cash. That's not suspicious. That's just somebody who wants to pay a bill. And by no means do I believe that any of my clients are into money laundering for that matter. Okay. And with me being a financial wizard in Canada, I am not doing any of this. So the front line is not FINTRAC. The front line are all these fools in the banking system and the real estate industry who believe that they must comply with FINTRAC. And there's no obligation that they have. FINTRAC's policy is that they have to cooperate. The law did not say they have to cooperate. And the law is the one I follow. Your policies, shove them, lady. Not interested. So FINTRAC wants everybody snitching on everybody else because they cannot actually legally run their own investigations. So they're not licensed private investigators. They cannot walk into your house and inspect anything. They can't just walk into your real estate brokerage. They can't just walk into your mortgage brokerage. They can't do that. And they can't just take your stuff. Even the cops need a warrant for that, for God's sakes. They can't do any investigation work, so they want you to do it for them. So you are absolutely willing, and I've met a lot of stupid people in the real estate industry, a lot. You're willing to screw your clients over and give your clients information to FINTRAC with no legal obligation to do so, no court order to do so. And what they say, what FINTRAC says is that, well, if they won't cooperate and give you that stuff, you cannot sell them a house. But that's not law either. That's just FINTRAC policy. And the brokerage houses in Canada are actually doing this. They're actually not selling houses to people who want privacy. How stupid are you? I am never turning money down with the exception of one thing. If I actually find out that you're involved in any way, shape, or form in the pedo market, period, you may not have a jaw on your head by the time that conversation's over. But beyond that, I'm doing business with everybody. Money is awesome. It's absolutely phenomenal. Guys, the amount of freedom that I have being a millionaire here in Panama is stunning. I've been wealthy at 2 different points in the past, but not like this. This is my richest time in my life. And I can tell all of you it's absolutely worth pursuing. But you're not going to get rich if you're paying tax in Canada, and you're not going to get rich if you're screwing your clients over and cooperating with FINTRAC. You're just not. Next. This is Sarah Paquet we're talking about, everybody. This is the psychopath who runs FINTRAC. That's her right there. Sarah Paquet, Director and CEO of FINTRAC. We're just covering what she's known for, and it's really not all that much. So she wants to increase enforcement by issuing record fines and more aggressive compliance expectations, which just means more lies and more made up allegations. So if she wants to say record fine, you take your little ticket book and here, and you have a pen, okay? and you say, you know what, you're in a casino and we couldn't threaten you into giving us any information. So I'm going to write a ticket here, and it's not going to be $100 million. It's going to be $200 million. Okay, there's your ticket. That's what they do. That's not a record fine. That's just some loser writing a number on a piece of paper. That's all that it is. Think about that. So she wants to do more of this. She's admitting in all of these articles and all of these public speaking engagements that, we're just going to lie more. We're just going to write more fines. We want the world record for fines. I could open up some kind of governing body for anything and cut myself a $1 trillion fine and then sue myself for the $1 trillion and then send everything over to the Canadian media and say, hey guys, I got sued for $1 trillion. You know what the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is going to say. Racist Kevin J. Johnston, this guy, anti-masker, anti-vaxxer, or whatever, Kevin J. Johnston gets sued for $1 trillion. You know that. I would even tell them I sued myself. They're not going to care because they think that I'm actually bothered by these articles. That's how stupid they are. So it's free advertising. Anyway, she says in one of her speeches, or several of her speeches, that she has a growing concern about crypto anonymity. I'm not concerned about crypto anonymity. I don't want to know what any of you have in your crypto wallets. That's none of my business. And I don't want any of you to know. I don't want any of you to know which exchange I buy my crypto on. All right, everyone? And I don't want to know where you buy yours. But she's worried because she's working closely with the Canada Revenue Agency, and they can't tax crypto until you spill the beans on yourself. Yeah, Sarah, the woman I'm talking about here, is the CEO of FINTRAC. Her name is Sarah Paquet. Last name is Paquet. Sarah Paquet. Do some research on her, guys, but it's remarkable how little information there is on her. She's only allowed to speak when she is scripted. So all the stuff you're going to see on her is all put out by radical feminist groups and the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and so on. It's all junk. She does not speak freely at all. She's reading a script. She's also worried about AI-enabled fraud. Well, AI fraud is not as easy as you think. All the AIs out there, they're mostly left-wing. They've got extreme bias, everybody. And even me, I'm working with a lot of AIs right now. I'm sure you recognize names like Perplexity and DeepSeek, the new one, Kimi, or Kiri, is it? I think it's called. We got ChatGPT. We got a bunch of them. I can't remember them all. Venice. And I've had to train them. It's taken 2 years of me talking to AI, where AI tells me, oh, you have to do what FINTRAC says. Oh, you have to do what the CRA says. It's the law. And then what I do is I train the AI saying, no, it's not. Here's the case law. Here's the arguments. Here is the actual code, not law. And eventually, GPT came back saying that I was incorrect. You are correct. And it began looking more objectively at everything to do with Canadian law. So you got to really work hard training your AI. But I am not using it to commit crimes. And as for AI doing trading, I suppose if you are an artificial intelligence master and you are a coding master and you are a hacker and you're good at what you do, sure, you could commit AI crimes. What would I do to stop you? Nothing. What will FINTRAC do to stop you? Nothing. So, I mean, I'm going to applaud you. If you're someone who's able to use AI to make $1 billion in a week, dude, hire me. I want to be your publicist. All right. I mean, the salary will be high. I want $100 million a year for it, but man, I'll make you look good. All right. So I'm just saying, guys, that nothing can stop anybody who is motivated, and especially not FINTRAC that works solely in civic law. All right. So she wants to express to all of us that FINTRAC has a growing concern about international financial crime networks. Well, how would you stop them? How? Think about this for a second. If somebody wants to smuggle anything into Canada, it's easy to do. Why? We have, 3 diesel-powered ships from our Navy? I don't think they've moved in a few years. I doubt that the engines work. And the Canadian Coast Guard, they don't have guns, and they're mostly high on weed all the time. And Canada's got a pretty big shoreline. So if you're an international crime syndicate, I suppose you could very easily just boat stuff into Canada. I've been to countries now in Latin America. The shorelines are completely unguarded. You could very easily get drugs into any country or stolen property or whatever it might be, folks. If someone is truly motivated, they will smuggle and they will move vast sums of money. And some little French Canadian gal who weighs 100 pounds is not going to stop it. And even though I am more well-versed on international crime syndicates than anybody who works for FINTRAC is, I can't stop it. And I'm not even going to try, because that's not my mission in life. That is not my personal mission statement. And I quite frankly don't care, because the human race in general sucks. We all have to adopt that. And it is not my duty to be the Navy of countries around the world with big shorelines. It's not your duty either. So let's be a bit more realistic, everybody, with our expectations. All right, next. She has absolutely no idea how to find criminals. So her mandate is to randomly find corporations in Canada. Now, she didn't say that in that exact way, but she is absolutely saying that in general whenever she is speaking publicly about FINTRAC's desire to get paid for doing nothing. All right, next slide. The bottom line is that there are not many traditional media profile articles about Sarah Paquet, the CEO of FINTRAC, personally. So most coverage comes from, and you're going to love this, everybody, official FINTRAC releases, naturally. Enforcement news like fines and penalties, naturally. Industry and regulatory reporting, because every industry has its own magazine. I'm pretty sure that there is a Casino Daily magazine out there, and that's where her name would come up. You've got conference appearances, which are all scripted. You've got radical leftist publications and media like the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and the Canadian Press, who just speak favorably about her and never ask her any real questions. And very select YouTube appearances, but they're mostly scripted. So, everyone, in true fashion, true Canadian government fashion, we have no capacity to question our so-called leaders. And we have no capacity to interview this Sarah Paquet person. I did, just so everyone knows, I'm going to show the slide again here. I did put a request out right there. You can see it. You can't see it on TikTok, but you can see it everywhere else. I did put a request in, and their exact response were, thank you for blah, 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 and an interview will not be possible. That's it. They didn't want to come on the show, but I did offer, and I offer everybody, everyone I'm going to talk about, I always invite them on the show. I let them shoot themselves in the foot by not showing up. All right, there we go. So in other words, to do with this Sarah Paquet woman from FINTRAC, she's a policy and enforcement figure, not a talented media personality, and certainly not a cop, not a judge. So most articles are tied to fines, regulatory changes, speeches, lies and accusations, DEI hiring policies, everybody, anti-white propaganda, anti-man propaganda, and anti-Canada propaganda. And here we go. There's a slide for you. I wish you could see it on TikTok. I've dolled her up like a clown, where she's got job interview papers, resumes in her hand, and she says, "Oh, why so many white men apply for this job? Whoa, yeah, because she has extremist DEI views, everyone. It's not good. Or at least it's not good for her." Moving on. Her core philosophy behind her inclusivity policies. Now, this came from her, not me. Under Sarah Paquet, FINTRAC explicitly frames inclusivity as part of its internal culture and workforce strategy, not just public policy. So public policy says you cannot deny anybody an application. Fine. You don't have to give them the job. You just have to say, here's your application. Now get out of here. But she says, no, we need inclusivity in FINTRAC. Why? If you ask her why, she won't have an answer. Because reasons. But she'd say it in a French Canadian accent. So inclusivity, diversity, and collaboration are described as cornerstones of the organization's culture. The goal is to create a workplace that is respectful, representative of society, and psychologically safe. Oh my God. Then nobody from FINTRAC should ever call me, because I drive everybody crazy. My mother, as I've told you the story before, my mother told me when I was in grade 6 that I could irritate Jesus, and she is absolutely correct. I'm mildly irritated by anybody who works for the Canadian government. So I just irritate the hell out of them right back. I will not be respectful. I will not be representative of Canadian society, which is just to, take it in the butt like everyone does. And I'm certainly not going to be psychologically safe. I am a psychological terrorist, for lack of a better term. I can drive anybody bananas, and I will, and I'll do it deliberately. And damn well I'm going to record it, and it's going to appear on TikTok, YouTube, and everywhere else. So this is the standard across Canadian federal agencies, but FINTRAC emphasizes it heavily as part of leadership accountability. Now, what does that mean? What's leadership accountability? Do you know what that means to me? Is that when someone hires based on skin color, they are a hardcore racist, and the accountability is they should be terminated from their job immediately. That's my thought process. And when someone like Sarah Paquet goes out and tells everybody in Canada, we're going to write more fines so that we can steal from Canadians, that's fraud, extortion, that's everything else. Leadership accountability means that she should be wearing handcuffs, going to a jail cell, getting processed and fingerprinted, get her mugshot done, get a bail hearing, hopefully not get bail, and then put her in prison after she loses her trial. That's what accountability is. But what accountability means to her is that if you say something that someone doesn't like, she's going to get really mad, and she's going to tell you have to sign this piece of paper and take sensitivity training. Yeah. This means that she hires dumb and bereft individuals who share her crazy ideology, making them nothing to fear. All right. And that is the best part about the Canadian government and their DEI policies. They are not hiring qualified people. They are hiring people from the victim mindset, the victim groups. That's what she's doing. So out of the 540 people that work for FINTRAC, how many of them, maybe 4 or 5, may actually have intelligence? The rest don't, because they're being hired for the wrong reasons. And we've covered all of this DEI many times in the past. I don't need to cover it again tonight. So next, she's focusing on anti-racism and equity commitments. What does that mean? This is actually what she calls an executive pledge. Again, everyone, this is FINTRAC. This is the society that's supposed to protect Canadians from terrorists all over the world, but they hire just left-wing nuts. So one of the strongest inclusivity frameworks comes from FINTRAC's Executive Diversity Pledge, which applies directly to leadership under Paquet. What does that mean? It's buzzwords. It's all just buzzwords, everybody. So her, not mine, her key commitments: acknowledging systemic racism exists in institutions. Racism exists everywhere, not just in FINTRAC, not just in the Canadian government, not just in Christian churches, everywhere. Even here, racism is everywhere. So leaders must recognize personal bias and privilege. Well, let me talk. Okay, guys, let me take some accountability for my own personal bias. I hate pedos. I hate alcoholics. I want nothing to do with having people in my life who smoke weed 6 hours a day. I don't want to be around drug dealers or drug addicts. Yeah. I am extremely judgmental of individuals that can do no good for me. If someone can only bring hardship and pain and a nuisance to me, and of course the cops to my front door, they can't be in my life. And the second that I identify you as someone like that, we're done. You'll never see or speak to me again, period. I have a personal bias, and I am never going to give that bias up, especially not to have a job in some freak show. So we have to unlearn discriminatory behaviors. Okay, I just said what kind of people I don't like to be around. You want me to forget that I don't like pedos? That's not going to happen. I don't like them. I despise them in every way. I will not unlearn that. Thank you very much. And then we need to know how to act when employees report discrimination. If you're reporting discrimination, you know what you are? You're a loser. You're a baby. John over there doesn't like me. How many times as a kid was I called fat? Whoopie-doo. How many times was I called short? All right, guys, I'm 5'6". So there's a lot of women out there that would not date me because I wasn't so much taller than them and blah, blah, blah. I got called short. Is that discriminatory? I don't know. Maybe. Do I care? And the answer is no. And would I cry to my employer, Sally won't go on a date with me because she says I'm short? Yeah, it's ridiculous. If you are the kind of person to complain about what anyone says, you're not an adult. You're a loser. You don't belong in society. Just go home and stay in your basement and never come out. We don't need weak people like that in our society. We really don't. And then focus on improving inclusion for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So everybody, remember what I said earlier about the fact that she's very anti-white. She's very pro-BIPOC. And is that not racism, out of curiosity? Is making a statement that I must focus on hiring Black people just because they're Black. And Indigenous, and I hate that word because nobody is Indigenous to North America. So I just call them Indians. We're going to hire Indians because they're Indians. And we're going to hire anybody of color. But what if I go sit in the sun for 3 hours? I will go from this lovely pale to red. All right? Does that count? Am I now a person of color? When the sunburn eventually becomes a nice dark tan and I look a little bit Hispanic, does that count? Or does that not count? What if, everybody, I tattoo my skin blue? I'm now a person of color. Does that qualify me to work for FINTRAC? These rules, they have nothing but flaws and holes in them. But they really do think they're doing the right thing, don't they? And she wants management accountability. What does that mean? We covered this before. Everybody in FINTRAC should be in prison for all kinds of crimes. Next, structural policy as well. Sarah Paquet goes on stage saying, we need to remove barriers in hiring. What does that mean? What's a hiring barrier? What, is there literally a gate down in front of FINTRAC saying no jobs for you? What? God, these buzzwords don't mean anything. And then she wants to remove barriers in promotions and remove barriers in talent management and remove barriers in the setting of targets for employment equity groups and to tie inclusivity goals to performance evaluations. What does that mean? Does that mean just because you're BIPOC, you're going to get more promotions and you're going to get raises and we're going to mark you down as doing more work than everybody else, even if you didn't? This woman is crazy. And your tax dollars are going into this. And for whatever the reason, a lot of you out there are afraid of this person. You should maybe reevaluate that. So this is important. It's not just messaging, but it's built into management accountability. All right. She says this is important. What does that mean? All right. All of her policies are anti-white, anti-man, anti-Christian, and anti-Canada. All of them are. Every single one of them. And that's FINTRAC. Supposedly they are there to protect us. They're just destroying us. Nothing she does in her hiring policies help the country. None of them. But it does help us because she's hired so many people with a complete lack of drive, ambition, and intelligence that FINTRAC cannot do anything to us anyway. You'll win if you go up against them. Next, 3, accessibility and disability inclusion. And she's got a plan, a 2026 to 2028 plan. All right. What's the plan? So Paquet personally signed off on FINTRAC's accessibility plan, which is a major inclusivity pillar. But what does that mean? So the core idea, accessibility is part of equity and inclusion, not just compliance. Every school, hockey arena, gymnasium, government building, every professional hockey rink in the country, they all have wheelchair ramps. What the hell is she talking about? This wheelchair thing, this was settled in the 80s. What is she talking about? What's going to happen? Are these wheelchair ramps going to be what, gold colored now? Or are they all going to have the flag painted on them? Like, what exactly is being done differently? It's illegal to say you can't work here because you're in a wheelchair, right? And if it's a government building, it's illegal, or at least against policy, to not have wheelchair ramps to get to the front door. So she's going to do what? Go out and break your legs so that you're in a wheelchair, so now she can hire you? So her core idea is accessibility is part of equity and inclusion, not just compliance. Again, that means nothing. Her key actions are hiring and promoting people with disabilities, not because they're talented, but just because they have disabilities. And upgrading offices and technology. Everyone does it. Private companies do this all the time. And training managers on inclusive practices. Any company that does that fails. So what I tell management is find everybody who's useless, find everyone who costs money and doesn't make me money, and get them out of my building now. That's what I tell my management. And then creating internal advisory groups of employees with disabilities. So just like imagine me, all right? I got temporary paralysis in my legs. You know, the first thing I'm going to do is get one of those really hot, fast wheelchairs, and I'm going to join a wheelchair hockey league. That's the first thing I do. I'm going to be buzz in the front door, spin, do a wheelie, tell everyone, get out of my way. Now, let's go. We're going to the boardroom. Let's make some money. But here's the question. If I'm spinning around that wheelchair, should I be promoted for no reason whatsoever other than I'm sitting in that wheelchair? I would say no to that. She would say yes to that. Wow. Sounds kind of discriminatory, doesn't it? The guiding principle is called Nothing Without Us. This is her name for her program, involving affected groups in decisions. So this reflects a shift in Canadian policy. What? So from accommodating people to designing systems of inclusivity from the start. What does that mean? She's going to tear apart the entire way that hiring is done and rebuild it? Certainly not for the better. So the idea is that intelligent white men will not be working for this institution, which makes them far less effective than they could be. Because all the successful accountants out there and all the successful investors out there are mostly white, and the ones who are not white are mostly Chinese. So you should be if you really want to have FINTRAC work, you should get a bunch of white guys and a bunch of Chinese guys in there, because it would work for you. So the problem, Canada, is that Canadian white males are terrified of offending foreign women and foreign people in general. So they just comply with FINTRAC and the government so that nobody calls them racist. Guys, every newspaper, radio station, and TV station in Canada called me racist. What did it do for my career? It made me a millionaire. Well, I made me a millionaire, but the free advertising really helped. All right. It's really not that bad to be called names by weak people because it's free advertising. Why don't you look at it that way? Look at all the crap that Trump has to put up with all the time. He loves it. It's free advertising. Every time the left wing cries about him, it's free. And it works. By the way, everybody, we're only at 23,000 likes right now. Let's get the double fingers going. Let's get to 100,000 likes on TikTok tonight, guys. We really, really got to rack up the likes tonight because we need Canadians to know what their rights are in reference to FINTRAC. We cannot allow FINTRAC to just run rampant and run free anymore. We, the people, have to police what they do, and knowledge, my friends, is power. Number 4, a broad definition of inclusion. So FINTRAC's inclusivity policies explicitly include a wide range of identity factors. So this should be good. Race, oh, here we go, right off the top. This is her words, not mine. Race and ethnicity. So whites have very little chance of being hired. And then gender identity and expression. I'm a heterosexual white male. I will never get a job there. Then we have sexual orientation and religion and disability and socioeconomic background and age and veteran status. So am I too old? Am I too young? Am I too Christian? Like, it just seems like everybody, this woman is going out of her way to make sure, just like the Canada Revenue Agency did, is to fill this corporation with as many non-Canadians who don't speak English as is possible. So if any of you want a job at FINTRAC, just lie. Say that you're gay and trans and brown and Muslim and everything else. Just give them all the right answers and she'll give you a job. You know what? If you were to dance outside of her house with a pride flag and just yell, I want a job, I have no skills, but I meet your criteria, she'll probably give you a job right there on the spot. There you go. Give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. Next, 5, workplace culture policies. Again, we're talking about FINTRAC in Canada, everybody, the institution that everybody's afraid of. And these are the hiring policies of Sarah Paquet, who is the CEO. So under Sarah Paquet, inclusivity is also tied to mental health and workplace environment. So she wants to promote psychological safety. You're trying to stop terrorists. How could you possibly be safe from any psychological attack? Oh, is she going to make a phone call to ARSA or to ISIS or to Boko Haram? Hi, guys. We know you're laundering money, but could you just not yell and shout praise Allah and whatnot to our staff? Because, we got to keep we just have to make sure everyone's happy. Is that really what she's planning on doing? I bet she does. She probably is thinking that would work. We have to talk about employee well-being. Well, that goes without saying. I'm in the private sector, everybody. So when I know that my staff are not well, then I make sure that I pay for them to go and see the right specialist immediately and get them back to work. But I'm in the private sector. If my staff are not 100%, we don't make money. But with her, employee well-being simply means more sick days, more days off, more mental health days. I'm willing to bet that the people at FINTRAC probably get 100 days a year off. And then she also wants to encourage open discussions about discrimination. Okay, Sarah Paquet, let's have one now. I am a white, Christian, Canadian-born male who speaks English perfectly as his first and only language. I have a Catholic background, and that's it. And I have been discriminated against in Canada. I was told that there was over 100 jobs I could not have because of my skin color. I was also told that I was not allowed, after not being allowed to work, I was not allowed to have welfare in the province of Ontario because they had met their quota of white males on welfare. Think about that, everybody. So, Sarah, here's my discussion with you. I have been discriminated against because of my height, my skin color, my religion, my age, and my political beliefs. Does any of that count? Probably not. Next. She also wants to talk about important context and what these policies do and don't do. So what they do, at least according to her, is all of this applies mainly to FINTRAC employees and government workplace culture. That's why the government gets nothing done. We're hiring the worst of the worst. And then influence hiring, promotions, and internal decision-making. Well, sure. They're not in it to make money like the private sector would. They get to steal money from you by writing tickets and fines. But in the private sector, I want to hire the best that there are. And if someone's not the best, I fire them and move on to the next person who potentially could be the best, because I want to make money. And then when it comes to internal decision making, well, who am I going to turn to? This is a private company. I'm going to call the outside world, randomly call the manager at McDonald's down the street. Hi, Mr. Manager, I'm thinking about expanding into France. What advice do you have for me? Let's hear this. And I'm also thinking about hiring 10 Frenchmen. What advice do you have for me there? Or am I just going to do it internally? It sounds like everyone that they hire gets put in front of a radical committee before they're even allowed to progress to the hiring interview stage. That's what it sounds like. Again, this is very good for us, everybody. This woman is so focused on this crazy nonsense that FINTRAC is never going to be a danger to anybody who simply refuses to cooperate with them. What are they going to do about it? Hi, Mr. Kevin J. Johnston, please pay us a fine. And then I just give them this litany of profanity and a litany of racist jokes and so on. What are they going to do? They're going to be harmed psychologically and probably take the year off. And FINTRAC will just drop the file. Yeehaw. What they don't do is they do not directly regulate the public. FINTRAC does not regulate the public. FINTRAC has no regulation capacities whatsoever, everybody. They do not affect your personal financing or reporting obligations. So Canada, men, women, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, you are not obligated to tell FINTRAC anything about you, because they are not an agency that operates in criminal law, and they are not the courts. You just do not have to cooperate. So this internal governance policy is not a law applied to citizens. Her crazy hiring policies and her stupid desires to write more fines and to harm more Canadians, this is just her blowing smoke into the wind. And some of you smell it and you get all afraid and you give her money. Stop it. Stop giving FINTRAC money. Stop cooperating with FINTRAC. If they issue a fine, file criminal charges for fraud, take them to court. Sue the hell out of this individual. All right, everyone. So that's Sarah Paquet's policies on it. And the last thing here is the bottom line. Let's go to the bottom line. Under Sarah Paquet, FINTRAC's inclusivity policies are strongly aligned with federal diversity, equity, inclusion standards, focused on anti-racism, unless you're white, accessibility, representation, workplace culture, and it's enforced through leadership accountability, which means nothing, hiring and promoting practices, and internal training and reporting systems, to which we, the general public, are not a part of, and it does not pertain to any of us, because it's all FINTRAC policy and not the law of the land. And once again, everyone, we have now concluded our slideshow presentation. I'm your savior, Kevin J. Johnston. I'm the #1 tax expert in Canada. I'm the only one telling any of you the truth about what's going on in your country. How many accountants and how many CPAs and how many tax lawyers would actually tell you that you don't have to cooperate with FINTRAC? You don't have to cooperate with the CRA. You don't have to cooperate with bylaw officers. These are not cops. These are not judiciaries. They are not judges. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your money in your pocket. That's where your money belongs. And your own internal secrets, they belong in your head, not in FINTRAC's possession. So if you are dealing with a mortgage broker or a real estate agent or a real estate brokerage house or a bank who insists on collecting your information to give to FINTRAC, stop doing business with them right there on the spot. Just stop. Why do you want your information in the hands of this psychopath that we have talked about tonight? And she is crazy, everybody. Keep your mouth shut. Exercise your right to remain silent, and you will keep more money in your pocket. All right, time to go to the questions. I'm shooting over to YouTube. Let's check the YouTube questions out. How easy is it to buy crypto in Panama? Equally as easy as buying it on crypto.com or Binance, but there are two actual agencies that are run privately here that I buy a lot of crypto from. I actually bought quite a bit yesterday. So if you want to buy crypto, guys, let me know. Next, the Canadian government's trying to bring in Bill C-8 by the end of this year. This will give them the power to force compliance or face illegal financial penalties. Well, they're going to try that. But if you are now going to be forced into a position where you have to comply, then you have to bring forward a constitutional challenge. Any law that gets written still needs to abide by the Constitution. That's the Senate's job, is to not allow stuff like that to pass. And if someone is acting outside of the Constitution, you have to bring up the constitutional challenge. I'm sure somebody somewhere is going to challenge all this nonsense. But in the meantime, everybody, so long as all of your property and money are in numbered corporations that you are not the director of, you're going to be just fine. Next, Real Talk Canadian Realtor. Is this really live? Yeah, brother. It's currently 10:11 p.m. Eastern time. And today is what? May the 12th. Yeah, I'm really live. Okay. So, RICO, here's a good one. Real Talk Canadian Realtor. RICO can issue compliance fines to the brokerage. All right. That's a good point. What the gentleman is talking about is the Real Estate Commission of Ontario. This is a private company, not a government agency, not a government body. They're nothing. They're nobodies. So if you have a real estate license in the province of Ontario, you don't have a real estate license in the province of Ontario. You have a membership with a private club. And that private club might tell you, we don't like you anymore. And what are they going to do? They're going to say, well, we're going to take your access away from our website. Fine. Go make a deal with someone else and get their access. No problem. Pay them some cash. You don't need a real estate license to sell real estate in the province of Ontario, regardless of what RICO says. They send threat letters all the time to me. And I send them back letters that have excrement on them and tell them, take me to court. If you really have any power whatsoever, let's do it in the court. Come on, mano a mano. Let's duke it out. Nothing. Because they have no power, everybody. There we go. So next. Yeah, Alex. Well, thanks for pointing that out, Alex. I appreciate that. And yeah, RICO and FINTRAC, yes, they are separate entities. FINTRAC is a federal entity and RICO is the province of Ontario. Alex is saying, compliance formalism cannot override a client's substantive right to receive competent professional service once the legality of the transaction has already been reasonably established. Excellent point. So when you're buying real estate in Canada, the real estate agent is not smart enough to understand money laundering. So here's an example. I am going to buy a house somewhere in Canada. I'm not telling you where. And I'm going to do it in cash. And I'm going to film the whole thing. It's roughly 540,000 Canadian dollars in cash. I'm going to buy it in cash so that I can show you just how easy it is for a real estate agent to behave themselves like a fool. So they're going to say, oh my God, $540,000 in cash. FINTRAC says, I have to accuse you of being suspicious. Oh, where'd you get it from? Now, I could make up a bunch of stories. I won it at the racetrack yesterday. My horse came in. I won it at the casino. I bet my entire life savings on black on the roulette table. You could tell them I'm really good at performing acts in dark alleys, and this is my pay. You tell them whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference at all. $540,000 in cash is not suspicious when someone says, I want to do business. Let's do some business. And do you guys know what $500,000 in cash looks like? If it's all in 100s, it's like this. You could get a fanny pack and fit $500,000 of cash in a fanny pack. Yeah. Guy, you don't even need a backpack for it. It would not even be a grocery bag. Yeah, guys, it's small. So, hi, I want to buy a house with this stack of money right here. real estate agents are told they have to view that as suspicious. They have to immediately assume you're guilty of something. Now, the other thing is that FINTRAC tells real estate agents, if someone has 6 mortgages from 6 different banks, that's suspicious. So you better report this person to us. What if the guy plays hockey with 6 different mortgage brokers, and while they were having chicken wings after playing beer league hockey and drinking way too many beers, all 6 of these guys say, hey, if you just get $100,000 from each of us, then the interest rate will be cut to 3. So he makes a good business decision based on the fact that he's got some compadres playing hockey with him and gets 6 mortgages. How is that suspicious? But the real estate agents out there who are really stupid and cowardly will say, oh my God, 6 mortgages. You have to be someone that FINTRAC is warning me about. I'm going to snitch on you. Yeah, think about that. What if you win the lottery? You are allowed to take everything, your winnings in cash. You are allowed to do that. So if you win $1 million on one of those stupid scratch tickets and you say, I'll take $1 million in cash, that might fill a briefcase. No, it wouldn't. It's actually a small amount of money. You take that briefcase and say, I want to buy a house. Well, how'd you get this money? Oh, I won the lottery. Here's my photograph in the Toronto Star. Oh, well, I think that photograph is suspicious. So what FINTRAC is doing is turning real estate agents and mortgage brokers all over the country into morons, into cowards, into criminals, because you are going to discriminate against me because I have money that I want to spend. My socioeconomic status is higher than the average. So I would view that as discrimination. I would immediately file a discrimination lawsuit against them. Let's cost them a bunch of time and a bunch of money. We all need to go on the attack. When someone says you have to do something, if there's no court order signed by a judge, you don't have to do a goddamn thing. So there we go, everyone. So Tunnel Vision, you want to be an affiliate? Jump on my website right now. Go to the contact page right now. Put down affiliate. I want to be an affiliate. All capital letters. I will get to that one first thing in the morning tomorrow. Okay. Kevin, do you have an alternate pathway other than someone filing for a consumer proposal? Remember, guys, I've covered consumer proposals on this show before. They are a really, really, really bad idea. There are many other ways to get rid of creditors other than a consumer proposal. It's a good idea to say, I'm entering into a consumer proposal. Go and talk to a trustee. Don't pay them anything. Don't sign the contract. Let the trustee know that you will be going with them next week. Tell the trustee to call everybody, and they will. And now you bought yourself some time. Come and see me, and I'll wipe out your debts for you. That's how we do it, man. Don't ever do a consumer proposal. Those are ridiculous. All right, everyone. Holy smoke. Rumble just lit up. Let me have a quick look here. Could I share my thoughts on the 2026 census without a filter? All right, I'm not going to filter myself. I got a lot of questions here. Do we have to cooperate with the Canadian census? The law was changed about 10 years ago. Nobody can do prison time for not filling out the census. Nobody. And the census, back in the day, it was a good idea because they wanted to know how many people were living in the area and how much money was to be allocated to schools and roads. That's how it literally used to be. That is true. But now the census is being used to collect personal data on you to sell to third-party marketing companies. So of course, I'm not going to tell anybody anything. I had someone actually hit me up on Facebook today telling me that they wanted to know everything. Do you have mental health problems? How many bedrooms is in your house? How many bathrooms? How many sinks? What the hell? That's not a census. That is data collection. That information will get sold to somebody. I'm willing to bet this. If you guys want to have some fun, I have a theory on the census. If you put down 17 to 20 different mental illnesses that you say that you have, All right. One of them being schizophrenia and so on. So that way, you can say, oh, it was the other guy that signed it, not me. All right. Do that. I'm willing to bet within 6 to 10 weeks, you're going to start to get emails, or you're going to start to get phone calls, or you're going to start to get flyers in the mail about Zoloft and all kinds of other drugs to screw your brain up forever. I am willing to bet that. If you guys want to experiment with it, film yourself doing it, because it would be hilarious. And there we are. As for the census, they are asking people to fill it out electronically. And you could just, forget to do it, which I would recommend highly. And then they send people to your door. Don't answer the door. The doorbell rings. Everyone's got cameras now. If it's not someone you know and like, don't answer the door. They will give up. They'll make 5 or 6 attempts to ring your doorbell and talk to you in probably Farsi or Punjabi. And if they can't get you, they eventually do have to call the census closed. I would never cooperate with that. I would highly recommend none of you cooperate with the census, because your data is being sold. It has nothing to do with improving the country. Not this time. 40 years ago, yes. Now, no. How many bathrooms do you have? What the hell does that have to do with anything? Wow. Okay, it is bizarre. By the way, everybody, I did forget to mention one thing here, that on the last Wednesday of the month, Wednesday, May the 27th, we're doing another group consultation, everyone. That's right, limited to 30 spaces. That's it, 30 spaces. We do not ever record it and publish it at any point in the future. Everybody who's in there, it is a private 30-on-1 consultation. I give a quick 15-minute speech about tax, and then everybody gets to ask a more serious question where I give extremely detailed answers. It goes 3 hours. It's the last Wednesday of every month. The next one is Wednesday, May the 27th, 8 p.m. Eastern time, just $250. Get over to my website right now, kevinjjohnston.com, and get your space. There's only 10 left as it stands right now. Go now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate, everyone. All right, let's get back to the rest of you here. Let's make my face a bit bigger. There we go. God, such a beautiful face, isn't it? It's got to be like full screen, doesn't it? Ooh, super. Let's move on here. What do we got? Floater Joe, I've got $2 million a year in Ontario Trucking Company. Need your advice. Joe, I love working with trucking companies. I can take your trucking company from paying probably half your money in tax to zero. Anybody who runs a trucking company, I can completely remove you from the tax system, and I can do it fast. Like, we're talking less than 2 months. You will be out of the tax system. If you have a trucking company in Canada, get a hold of me now on my website, kevinjjohnston.com. Put trucking company in the subject line. I will call you personally. Don't lie. If you're not running a trucking company and I call you and it's not about trucks, I'm hanging up, I'm blocking your number. All right? I don't like liars. So let's do business properly. The trucking industry is just about dead in Canada, but I can save trucking companies that want to be saved. Get a hold of me on my website, please. All right. Co-op says a requirement to pay letter was sent a month ago to my account. It's still not frozen. Okay. You're the secondary person in the account. What are you waiting for? Drain the goddamn account. They will try their very best to get their hands on the money in that account. If you ever see a requirement to pay letter, folks, that's your cue. Empty your bank account. Don't wait. Okay. Bramble. If I open up a U.S. LLC and a U.S. bank account for it and give the LLC making service my Canadian ID. Sorry, Bramble, could you rephrase that? I'm not understanding your question. Try that again, please. Clans. I have some crypto on Binance and it's locked in there, it appears. Do you have a way to transfer it out, and how do we store it if we're Canadians? Get onto a very good VPN, not Express. That one's kind of shitty. Get onto a really good one. Put yourself down in Panama or Brazil or Colombia, and then you'll be able to log into Binance. Binance did not want to cooperate with FINTRAC, so they simply blocked Canadians from being able to use their website. Good for them. That's how you do it. Okay. So how do I say this? Goryanova. Okay, I can't pronounce your name, but if you're having an issue there, get on my website right now. Like now, please. Fit Chick. Question. If a friend who is wealthy owns their family trades business and several apartments and vacation home, everything is covered by the family trust. They are afraid to lose everything when their parents die. They feel like they will owe the CRA huge dollars. They have a huge trust umbrella. Okay, guys, it's okay to have multiple properties in a trust. That is how you do it. But that is not something Fit Chick that I could just go ahead and answer right now, because I need to know the entire structure. How many houses are we talking about? How many rental condos are we talking about? What business are they in? How much do they make? What's the current ownership structure? Who are the directors of the company? These are very serious questions I need to have answered. But I want your friend as a client, because I would have a lot of fun with that one. And if I am your friend's tax guy, there will be $0 paid when his parents die. $0 paid. That is what I do. Just checking the questions here on TikTok now. So someone says, what if you're not guilty of anything? There should be no worries. If you're not guilty of anything, don't answer questions. The whole idea of FINTRAC and the CRA and police asking you questions is they're trying to take innocent people and make them guilty. That's what they do. Half the people in Canadian prisons shouldn't be there. It's just the cops lied to them and people didn't know their rights. That's why they're there. Don't talk to anyone. Yeah. Don't ever say, I have nothing to hide. I'm going to tell the police everything because I have nothing to hide. Sure you do. What's the PIN number on your bank card? What's the password for your PlayStation Plus? Because I'm sure you play video games. Who are you sleeping with? You shouldn't tell anybody that. Yeah. Hey, here's one for you. How many venereal diseases have you had? You probably shouldn't tell people that either, except any future partners that you have. These are just not things you should be sharing with anybody, period. And you should also not be sharing who you know as friends. You should be protecting your friends. If you're a true friend, you don't tell people you're friends with that person. Keep your mouths closed, everyone. Do I hold private mortgages? Yes. Well, I can get you private mortgages, and there are holding factors that we have to it, but I would need to know more about your story. I can't just throw a willy-nilly answer at you. Hats. How do I remove my name from as the director in a numbered company? You get what's called a corporate key. So you have a user ID and a login to the provincial website of the province that you reside in. And once you log into that, then you can simply remove yourself as director, change it to Bugs Bunny. There you go. And upload your step-down letter. Make sure your step-down letter is at least 2 years old. And congratulations. Bugs Bunny is now the director of your corporation. Tell us how we can get away with not paying tax. How many days do you have? All right. Basics. If you're on a T4, you talk to your boss and say, boss, I don't want to be on T4. It's retarded. I'm never going to get Canada Pension Plan. Canada Pension Plan is going to be empty by the year 2032. I want to be on contract. I'm going to register an HST number along with my new corporation. I will invoice you, which saves you money. And it does. It saves them a lot of money. You start with that. There's the T2125 form. So every single expense that you have to do with any employment that you have or any money making you have, we put them all down there. Medical. Everyone's got a medical problem these days. So we put all that down. There's about 125 things I can write off on the personal side. We can do that. Vice says sexual identity is on the census now. Well, put down 6-horned, 5-penised unicorn. Do that. All right. Put that down. Put something stupid down. Make stuff up. Create words like the radical leftists do now. Just checking more of your questions here. Floater Joe, Float Incorporated is your company. It's legit. Okay, well, dude, get a hold of me. Let's do this. Let's remove you from the tax system. User 99, is it legal for the CRA to conduct an interview for an audit using Teams meeting or video apps? Well, it's legal if you agree to it. If you don't agree to it and send them a no trespass notice and get a restraining order, then no, they can't communicate with you. But any of you out there who are being audited, let's have some fun. You hire me as your legal agent, and when the Zoom call starts, I will pop in, introduce myself as your legal agent, inform the CRA that you will be doing no talking of any kind. They can direct all their questions to me because it's just civil. It's not criminal stuff. I can do all your speaking for you, everybody, and we'll film it and we'll stick it on YouTube, I'm sure. So get me in that. That's the type of combat that I live for. Where can Canadians trade crypto with leverage? Guys, I don't know. It's simple. If you have a really good VPN, get on Binance, get on crypto.com, buy through those exchanges, and then immediately move everything to your hard wallet. There you go. It is that simple. What is my website, Nino? My name, Kevin, Kevin, middle initial J, and the last name is Johnston, JOHNSTON.com. All right. If you can't make mortgage payments, should you foreclose? Well, it's a gamble, but in some cases, you can just walk away from payments on your property. And if it goes to auction, sometimes it does, you can get it cheaper, but in most cases, they've probably already lined a buyer up for it. If you're wanting to abandon a mortgage, you can just pack all your stuff and leave and just leave the house there. You could do that. You're not going to get any money back for it. If you have any equity in it and you're really struggling, sell the house and get whatever equity you possibly can, and then consider making a beeline out the door. Canada sucks. There's no opportunity in Canada. Not in any way. All right. Check more of your questions here. I agree. Canada is a completely communist country, everybody. There are no rights and freedoms. And with all the new bills coming into play, the government's going to be able to silence you, lock you up for nothing, and strip you of your right to be on the internet. Any comment on CRA audit on a driver corporation or so-called driver Inc.? Could you elaborate on the question, please? I didn't quite catch it all. Canada Revenue Agency likes to lose all the documents you provide. Make copies. Of course, you got to make copies, everybody. You know, when the CRA asks for something and you have something that can actually help your cause with the CRA, go to FaxZero, FAXZERO. You can fax for free. Then you just go to Google and ask for all the fax numbers for the CRA and fax all of their numbers. Make sure your stuff goes to every single fax number. And that way they can't say that they don't have it. How do you get your corporate key, Alex? Well, if you registered the corporation within the last 5 years, you would have received it by either hard mail or email. Otherwise, you're going to have to call the province, the service center of the province that you live in, show them the articles of incorporation and your identification, and they will send you out a new one. How does anybody join my team? Hit my website and tell me that you want to join the team as a sales rep, man. I pay the highest commissions going. A lot of people are making a lot of money doing sales for me. A lot of people. And I love it. I do not mind parting with commissions because every commission you get means I made money too. Okay, sorry, Bramble. Second try. If I open up a U.S. LLC and a U.S. bank account for it, I will use a registered agent to make the LLC. I will give them my Canadian ID. Will the IRS or U.S. bank tell the CRA about the LLC income? No. No. The IRS and the state does not have any time for that. The United States does not care at all about the CRA. The CRA functions completely and totally within civil law. The Americans do not care about Canada's civil law. The CRA cannot compel you personally to do anything, which means they could never compel the Americans to do anything, period. Okay, Goran Nudev, thank you very much for doing that. Superman asks, when a property is in a corporation, one spouse passes, one spouse remaining, how can you make sure the kids own the company when the other spouse passes? When I register a corporation for anyone, specifically so that they can put their house or their farm or their condominium into it, the corporate bylaws that I create for them dictate this is the property, and here are the shareholders, and here's everything that happens when people die. So if mom and dad are alive, mom and dad have got 50-50. Dad dies, 50% goes to mom. Mom dies, she dictates who gets everything before she dies, of course, who gets how many shares. It can even go to grandkids if you want to. The corporate bylaws must be written very, very well to cover all of that. And I am very good at what I do when it comes to corporate bylaws, everybody. Very, very good at that. That's how you do it. Let me check YouTube. Here's a really good point. I didn't consider this. So JPW says, they are asking how many bathrooms in your house on the census because they want to force us to take in immigrants due to housing shortages. In that case, put down one. There you go. And you're going to be fine. All right, let's go back to Rumble here for a second. Okay, Ocean Walker. I'd like you to hit the website right now. Put the word Ocean Walker in the subject line on the website, please, and I can deal with that one in the morning. Home Inspector. Bro, you're a breath of fresh air. I love your fight. How do I get rid of HST debt? God, I love HST debt. Okay. How do you get rid of it? Man, well, we find every single expense that you forgot about, and we find every expense that everybody else in your company forgot about, and we add them to the last 3 tax years and try to wipe it out. But if that HST debt is in a corporation, then Home Inspector, you just sell me your corporation and I get all of your debt. It all comes to me. I take it all. So anybody who has a corporation currently that has HST debt, GST debt, PST debt, payroll debt, that's the big one, corporate income tax, municipal fines, lawsuits, bank loans, whatever you got, sell me the corporation. I take all your debt away, and the CRA and the banks can chase me. And like we've covered a bit earlier in the show, whenever the banks call me saying, oh, yes, hello, you purchased a corporation and it has a big debt with us. We want you to pay the $40,000. You could only imagine how that conversation goes. That person typically hangs up the phone within about 5-10 seconds when I just berate them and lay into them. So you want me taking over your debt, everybody. That way the CRA and the banks and FINTRAC, they have to chase me. And they do not want to chase me. You guys aren't going to believe this. You're not going to believe this, all right? The Royal Canadian Mounted Police have a policy not to speak to me. They're not allowed to talk to me. That's crazy. Toronto police, I don't know if you guys knew this, Toronto police have a policy that they are not allowed to talk to David Menzies of Rebel News. I used to do a radio show with David, man. Like, he's such a hilarious guy. David's a funny guy. I like that guy very much. But the Toronto police are not allowed to talk to David Menzies, and the RCMP is not allowed to talk to me. Why? What did I do? That was so terrible, everybody. All right. Aaron, I co-own an HVAC company. What's the best way to lower taxes or not pay them? Prefer to keep my own money. Dude, make me your tax guy. Your corporation will pay 0 tax, and you as the corporate owner will also pay 0 income tax forever. This is what I do. I legally make sure that I use all of their laws and rules and policy caca to make sure that you never pay tax again. Ladies and gentlemen, you are wasting your time making money if you're paying tax on it. Make me your tax guy. All your tax bills go blah, especially on the corporate side. What is the best course of action once a bank account's been frozen by the CRA? The CRA does not freeze bank accounts. They issue a requirement to pay letter to the bank, and the bank freezes the bank account. Quickest way, call the CRA, say, you've got great news. You just got a bank. It's a lie. You just got a bank loan. You've been approved for it, and they're going to be paying out the bank loan to me in 6 weeks, and I'm going to pay the entire tax bill. But it's contingent on my bank account being open. Could you please send them the withdraw on the requirement to pay? And the CRA, once you make a deal with them, not always, but mostly, they will tell the bank to unlock your account, strip all your money out of the account, close the account, and then have me fix your taxes for you. That's how you do it. Oh, hey, Kirk, how you doing, buddy? The police won't talk to him either. as with most Canadian podcasters. Kirk's been a pain in the ass to the Canadian government for a while, which is, why I like the guy so much. All right. Jamal, novice here. How can you legally avoid paying debts in a corporation that you buy? Well, if the CRA wants me to pay a debt, they would have to sue me and win, and then pull me into a discovery and try to find a way to convince me to cooperate with that. Think about that. First off, the CRA has not been the plaintiff in a lawsuit for over 10 years. They don't sue people. Secondly, I would file a defense if I got sued. Third, I wouldn't settle out of court. I would say, trial, mofos, trial. Let's go to trial, because now I can subpoena witnesses. And I'm not going on the stand. They have to go on the stand because they filed the lawsuit. And if you are stupid and sue me, you're going on the stand, man. And I get to question you for a couple of days. And believe me, I'm a curious kind of guy. Used to be the best journalist in Canada. I know how to ask questions. I've got thousands of them for you. Thousands. And let's just say, for argument's sake, they won. I'd appeal it immediately. And let's just say I lost the appeal. That's like 4 years from now, 5 years from now. They still have to get me into discovery to see what I've got so they can take it from me. But when the discovery comes up, I'm simply going to walk in the room and say, F you, F you, F you, you smell my fingers, we're done here. And I'm walking out the door. That's how that would work. So they can't do a discovery because I'm not going to cooperate with it. You don't have to cooperate with a discovery. I would walk in there and film myself being callous and rude to them. And of course, put it on YouTube and Rumble and everywhere else. But that's where it ends. That's why I love buying everybody's debt, because you folks, you don't want to do that. I get it. Being in the Canadian court system sucks. You have to thoroughly enjoy conflict to do what I do for a living. You have to absolutely adore the fact that 50% of an entire country hates you to do what I do for a living. And believe me, the left-wing nuts, the liberals in Canada, hate my existence. They hate me in every way. And I'm okay with that. In fact, I quite get off on it. But if you're not the kind of individual that gets off on that kind of hatred and disdain and contempt from your so-called countrymen, you can't do what I do for a living. Everything that I do comes with a price. And the price is that I am opening myself up, not to lawsuits and not to criminal charges, but just to abuse from the system. So I get it, folks. Sell your companies to me, sell me all your debt, you walk away, and let me deal with the CRA. Let me deal with the province. Let me deal with the banks. Let me be the callous, gross individual on the phone to get these people to fungulo forever. That's what we want to do. Many drivers are reporting about the CRA pulling trucks onto a scale and asking about their corporate. The CRA cannot do that at all. There's no way that the CRA got themselves a court order to instruct the MTO in Ontario or the Nazis over in British Columbia to do that. They're not asking you those questions at all for the CRA's purposes. What they're doing there is they just want to check and see what the legitimacy is of the truck, because they want to know who to write tickets to, you or the company. It's not for the CRA. They're not as powerful as you think, folks. They're really not. Checking more of your questions here. Wow. Look at all these people following me, man. This is fantastic. Holy smoke. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. This is fantastic. Guys, I really do. I appreciate it very, very, very much. And right now, we're at 33,000 likes. We got to get to 100,000 likes. Guys, we've only got 15 minutes left. I need everybody watching on TikTok just to do this. 2 fingers. Just, it's free. It's free to do. But I need all of you doing this right now because I absolutely want more Canadians to find out what their rights are versus FINTRAC, versus the Canada Revenue Agency, versus the government in general. Going back to the Rumble room here. Superman 21, which Panama banks are the easiest to open? Trying to open one, but they ask a lot of questions. Sure they do. They all do. Banks in other countries will ask questions. But what you want to do is deal with the 3rd tier and the 4th tier banks. Sometimes even the 5th tier banks. Banco Azteca. They're not a good bank, but they're good because they don't ask a lot of questions. La Fis, extremely easy bank to get an account in. Canal Bank, no problemo. Banco General, if you walk into a Banco General branch, you can have a bank account in 15 minutes. It doesn't take long. Everybody in Panama is using Banco General, which is General Bank. Thank you for the hat. Appreciate it. And General Bank is easy to access everywhere. There's machines all over the country. And they've got something called Yapi, which is an online payment gateway. And everybody in Panama has Yapi. So if you lost your wallet or you forgot to bring cash, it doesn't matter. You just ask, what's your Yapi phone number? And from phone number to phone number through your Banco General account or General Bank account, and you can pay them. Taxis, Ubers, buses, restaurants, lawyers, everybody takes Yapi in Panama. It's a phenomenon, man. It's real easy to get things done in Panama if you've got a Banco General account with a Yapi account and a Visa card here. It's all that it takes. Bravo. Hey, Kevin, if we choose to set up corporations with you, what does the process look like? What information do you receive and what sort of guidance do you provide? Well, bravo. I got a great idea. Why don't you join up for the last Wednesday of the month, which is, let me just get the date back up for you. There we go. It's a group consultation where everybody gets to ask an extremely detailed question. And a lot of folks do jump in that room that night and they ask for guidance on corporations. So jump in that room, ask your questions, and I'll answer them throughout that thing. It's a 3-hour private seminar. There's only 30 spaces available in that one. Head over to kevinjjohnston.com right now and grab your spot. So what does it look like when we're doing your corporations for you? Well, we invoice you, you pay the invoice, and within 24 to 48 hours, we get the corporation open for you. But if you need us to write corporate bylaws, it takes about a week to get those done because we really need you to explain to us what your intentions are with the corporation. Not every corporation needs bylaws, by the way. And that's something else that I would discuss with you in the group session there. Genesis Construction. You speak of buying debt. What is the debt value to your team? But to me, well, I get a fee for this, so I make a living doing it. And when I culminate lots and lots and lots and lots of debt, I make phone calls to some of my clients. We have quite a few, who are well over the $50 million per year mark. So when a corporation is making that much money, they need capital losses. They need bad debts to write off. They, in general, need losses that they can put on their ledger. And a bad investment is a loss on the ledger. So I'll call them. Yeah, Bobby, Vinny, Moose. Hey, what's going on, guys? Listen, I've got $19 million in debt for you right now. Would you like it? Because I take your corporations and I merge them into other corporations. Tons of debt is on paper. Sell the corporation. The debt goes with it. Now My really, really, really rich client has a really, really, really big write-off, and they pay a lot less tax. Debt is a commodity if you know what you're doing. And if you've got the stomach for it. Like I told everybody about 10 minutes ago, not everybody can do what I do for a living. There is a lot of conflict that comes with what I do. But the best part is the conflict is on me. Once you sell me your corporation and I take all your debt away from you, you're off the hook, man. It's over for you. Go live your life. The issues now start for me. And the issues typically are phone calls and letters from the CRA saying, we want you to pay us this amount of money. And I'm sure you know how those conversations go. Okay, Bravo is asking a good question here. Could I explain the director concept and how the CRA wouldn't just see that I was the original one opening the corp before Bugs Bunny takes over? Well, here's the deal with that. Let's say, for example, you register a corporation January 1st. You're the director. On January 3rd, you open up bank accounts, and on January 4th, you remove yourself as the director, and it's now Ronald Reagan or Arnold Schwarzenegger is the director of that corporation. Then the corporation doesn't do sales until the 9th of January. Well, anything from the 9th of January forward is going to be the responsibility of that new director, not you, because you've stepped down. It is that simple. So it doesn't matter that you were the original director. What matters is who was the director at the exact time that the debt was implemented. So sorry, guys, didn't mean to leave that up for you for too long. There we go. And there we go. So everyone, factor in that the CRA, they're very limited in what they can do. They can only go back 2 years. That's the thing you got to factor in with all your decision making. CRA can go back 2 years and penalize that director. But if you were not the director when the corporation was doing any commerce or any business, everything's going to be just fine. All right. There we go. User 72 says he thinks that I'm a rock star. God bless you for that. Next, what do we got? Thank you, BJ. Guys, there's so many gifts coming in tonight. This is amazing. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for throwing this stuff at me. TikTok, it's weird how TikTok works. When the live transmission's over, it plays this really, I don't know, like Smurf style music. And it shows me all these goals we get, but it tells me all the gifts and who sent the gifts and blah, blah, blah. It's pretty wild. I'm not entirely sure how to spend the gifts that I get, but I think what it does is it goes into a central account, which I can in turn then use to buy advertising on TikTok. So I think it's kind of like its own internal currency. And I really, guys, I really, really do appreciate that. And anybody who wants to join my team, get over to my website right now, kevinjjohnston.com, and let me know that you want to join the sales team. Let's get you making some money, folks. Kimmy, is there any issue about the amount of money in your holding company versus the company for eligibility for something? You got cut off there. If you have a holding company that doesn't do business, you can put as much money in there as you want. It doesn't do business. So what we do is we put down on your tax return a null tax return. NULL is the word we put on there, with a very simple letter explaining that it's a holding company and not a commerce company. That's it. It's not going to be taxed. It can't be taxed. It doesn't do business. So put as much money as you want there and everything is going to be fine. Razor, if I place my primary residence in a holdco, will I lose the principal residence exemption? Good question. And at the same time, ridiculous question. And I'll tell you why. And I'm not mocking anybody when I say this. I get this question all the time, but I don't get it as a legitimate question. I get it as cynicism and sarcasm, which I know Razor is not doing right now. What I mean by that is I tell people, put your house in a corporation, remove yourself as the director, and when the house sells, it doesn't matter if there's a capital gain or not because you're not the director. So there's no capital gain. And what Razor is asking me about here is when you have a house and it's in your personal name, but it's your personal residence, when you sell it, in the law currently, there is no capital gain. That is correct. And the rules, not the law, the rules and the policy of the CRA. Thank you, Big John. The policy is that they want you to report the capital gain if it's in a corporation, which you're not obligated to do, by the way. But if you're not the director and you do report it, the corporation has Bugs Bunny being liable for the capital gain on your house. Sell me the company, the debt's mine. Bye-bye. Just like that. It is that easy. So yes, Razor, you would lose the automatic principal residence exemption, but you're still going to be exempt because I'm your tax guy. You'll never pay a dime again in capital gains. BJ, thanks, man. Appreciate that very, very much. Guys, we're almost at 50,000 views. 3,000 more, and we're there. Double fingers. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it done. We're down to our last 5 minutes here. All right. All right. So eligibility for capital gains. And there's a 24-month purification time. I'm not understanding that question. Could you try that one again, please? Sorry. How do I say that? Majhagang. Yes, it's happening. They're asking if they're working on payroll or on a corporation. I'll look into that. Obviously, you want to remain silent because who you work for is not relevant except for when the truck is going to get a ticket. That's when it's relevant. But you would be within your rights to say, I volunteer. You are within your rights to say that. I volunteer. That's all. And leave it vague because you are allowed to work for a company, folks, and not take a salary. You know that, right? I never got paid to be a hockey coach, a soccer coach, a lacrosse coach, a swimming coach, a skating coach. Never got paid. I volunteered my time. And when I was working with Pastor Archer Pawlowski in Alberta, helping him feed the homeless, I volunteered for that too. Nobody paid me for it. And I'm allowed to do it. Totally allowed to do it. Just like you're allowed to open a corporation and volunteer to run it and not draw a salary. No problem, Jamal. You're very welcome. Do I do personal tax? Yep. And corporate tax as well. Jamal, do you have any experience with Costa Rica regulations with regards to corporations and real estate? Let me tell you about Costa Rica, Jamal. I tried it for 5 months. I found it distasteful because it is a third world country with New York City pricing. Can't afford anything. And the Canadians who went to Costa Rica, they're idiots. They really are difficult people to work with. I couldn't form alliances with anybody there. It was ridiculous. So I gave up on Costa Rica without learning any of its systems. I couldn't make money there. I got to Panama. Well, it's now 2.25 years ago after being in Costa Rica. So unfortunately, my friend, I can't help you with that because I chose to just not give a crap about Costa Rica. I will buy corporations. Yes, I buy corporations with less than $1 million of debt. No problem. Just checking more of your questions here. Samuel. All right. You make $2 million a year and need just my tax guy. Samuel, go to my website right now. That's the magic number right there. Mwah. Go to my website right this second. Put down Samuel, your full name. I'm going to remember it. And put $2 million in the subject line. Give me your contact information. Tim and I are going to give you a call. That'll be awesome. Thank you very much. I will do that for you. Sebi boy. As a self-employed person, can I make a Canadian salary and live overseas and avoid income tax? Well, you don't want a salary in Canada. You want to be on contract in Canada. And if you're on contract in Canada, you're just writing invoices and getting paid. And hopefully you're doing it through a corporation. And then if I'm your tax guy, your expenses are absolutely going to outweigh your earnings. And that means you don't pay tax because every single expense that you are legally allowed to put into a tax return, I am putting into that tax return. Every single one. Can I get my lira out of Canada? I'm actually in the future going to be doing a full show on liras, RSPs, RESPs, GICs, and everything else. I couldn't possibly answer that question in the next, 30 seconds because the show is just about done here. All right. Actually, God, look at the time. It is done. Holy smoke, those 2 hours just flew past. All right, folks, tonight was part 2 out of a 3-part series on FINTRAC, why you don't have to do anything they say, how crazy they are, and how to avoid dealing with them. FINTRAC is not there to help you. They are absolutely there to hurt you. Do not cooperate with them, lest you be broke. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Tax and Money Show that runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. Thank you for being here. I love you all, and good night.